Number 3 on the list is in context of the group, ask questions everyone can answer. It's a very simple little thing. In our show, one of the standard things I do very early in the show is I say, you know a little bit about us, we want to know a bit about you, so I have some questions. All you have to do is raise your hand if the answer applies to you, so please participate. Promise this won't hurt a bit, it's fun. Question number 1 this morning, I'm curious to know how many of you are seeing me for the very first time, or else you've seen me before. Hands up if you're seeing me for the first, well, that's almost everyone. A couple of you are a tad confused, but that's true of every group. Question number 2, how many of you believe that Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster might be real? Anybody you think, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Looks like you tend to be especially easy to mystify. I'm glad to have you in the audience. Question number 3, how many of you like chocolate chip cookies? Chocolate chip, almost universal agreement there. Question number 4 from the men. How many of you understand that marriage is a 50-50 proposition? In other words, 50% of the time your wife is right, the other 50% of the time you are wrong. How many of you men understand that? Guys, your hands need to be up on this. It's important. And if there's a lot of ladies in the group, I'll say, how about this for the ladies? I'm curious, ladies, how many of you have observed sometimes stretch pants have no other choice? Anybody out there who's ever made that observation? No hands go up. I don't understand that one. Let's try this. How many of you really don't like to raise your hand? Anybody out there you really do not like? Several out there. And finally, I'm curious, is there anyone here who would never, under any circumstance, raise your hand? Just stick it up there and indicate you are the one. There she is. We're glad you're here today. You make it more fun for the rest of us. Okay, that is really a brilliant technique. And I don't mean as great as I thought it was. I didn't think of it. But it is brilliant in the sense that it gets the whole audience now not just involved, but also establishing a sense of identity. By raising their hand, they're saying, yep, that's me, I'm one of those. And the people who raise their hand for the Loch Ness Monster and so on, they're being funny. It gives them a chance to be a part of the humor. And these are tools and techniques we need. It's not so much humor, but it still works. Sometimes you say, I'm curious, how many people, where are you from? In the Magic Book Beyond Belief show in Pigeon Forge, I used to say, I'm curious, I'd like to know, how many of you live within 15 minutes of this place? Anybody here today within 15 minutes? Yes, right, well, terrific there. Glad, Chuck, that you made the long journey, the 15 minutes. How many within 30 minutes? Anybody within 30 minutes? We had Mark back there. Okay, how many within an hour of this place? Very good. Now we're going to stretch it out. Did anybody drive more than 3 hours to get here? Wow. Anybody drive more than 6 hours to get here? More than 8 hours to get here? And still up, more than 10 hours. 11 hours. 12 hours. 13 hours. Are you going to claim you just came from the other side of the world there? From North Dakota, might as well be. Well, let's give everybody a round of applause who haven't made the decision to be here. And let me say whether you've come from near or far, we are so glad that you made the choice to be a part of us, and we're going to do our best to make your investment in our show worthwhile. Well, there again, that's a matter of identity, and it turned out, I mean, that's great. You know, I came from North Dakota, the other side of the world. We were in a Bible study one time. I was in South Dakota, and those of you who don't know, South Dakota and North Dakota tease each other, kind of like Missouri and Arkansas. And we were discussing Noah and the ark, and somebody said, what'd they do with all the manure on the ark? And somebody said, well, I suppose they dumped it overboard. And another guy said, that's how North Dakota came into being. You got to live in South Dakota or North Dakota to appreciate that kind of humor. But anyway, did you understand what's going on right now? See, the group response, the interaction, somehow we made it personal. So you want to come up with things like that in the show. Let's keep moving. Do things that may, they're commonly questions, where are you from? That's some examples there. And I have collected a number of questions over the year. I normally only use 5. I did 7 for you this time just because I was giving you examples. With just 5 questions. The last one I like is how many would never raise your hand, so that's the end point. And the first one I did not come up with, but it works so wonderfully. You say, how many of you are seeing me for the very first time, or else you've seen me before? And it takes a minute for it to register what you just said, and they realize, hey, this is going to be fun, but it also gives them a chance to raise their hand. Okay, do things that make everyone laugh. If we think about it, laughter is an instantly recognizable group response. Laughter is something that happens together. And in a sense, when we laugh together, we're saying, hey, we're part of it. So comedy is important. I have a friend who's a gospel magician, and I love him dearly, but I have a point of contention with him because he doesn't think he needs humor in his show. He says, I'm here to present a serious message, I'm a serious guy, I do these good tricks, and I give the message. Another thing, his problem is he never gets shows. He's always saying, what can I do to get more shows? Well, I think those two things go together, and I try to explain it to him. That if you don't do things that are fun and funny, people are not going to enjoy what you're doing, and they're going to end up not listening to you. You need humor, but it's beyond that. It's something that just gets, it gets everybody. Well, a brief sideline here. Modern phenomena: drinking bottled water on stage. Those of you my age and older, when we were growing up, did we see people out on stage with bottled water? No way. No way. I played sports in high school. To show you how old I am, they wouldn't let us drink water during the sporting events because they thought it would cause us to get stomach aches and cramps. So we weren't allowed water until the game was over. The world has changed. Now people know the importance of being hydrated. But when it comes to hydration, I've been concerned. I wonder about bottled water. How do we know this is pure spring water? Ever wonder? I mean, they say it is, but you buy it at the gas station. How do you know they're not going in the back, turning on the faucet, filling it up, and just calling it pure spring water? Well, I decided I wanted to know if it's really pure spring water. I figured it out. Shall I share it with you? Yeah. This is how you know it's pure spring water. This is pure spring water. Okay, it wasn't worth the effort.
Oh, yeah, and you guys sell that too. You showed that now.
And this, of course, could also be a spring flower. So moving right along. Okay, so
cats don't really laugh at them either.
Yeah, so we're talking about comedy, but I want to add to it. You say, well, I don't think I'm a very funny person. Well, frankly, I don't think I'm a very funny person. But you know, a groan almost works like a laugh, and that certainly is a groaner rather than a laugh. But again, it's that group response, and people all kind of look around and are in agreement. That was bad. As soon as we get home, we're going to go get a Slinky and put it in our water bottle too. But that was red, and that really is all I did. I bought a Slinky. I found it at a toy store somewhere. Now I can get a dollar store. Just cut the bottom off the bottle, and how did I put that in there? I don't remember. Oh, I used tape. I don't know what all I did, but anyway, you can look at it later if you want. But that's it's not something we sell. It's just something I made as a sight gag. Okay, so comedy is very important, and laughter is an instantly recognizable group response. And then use warm-up and wake-up techniques. And this is something else that took me a long time to realize how valuable it is in getting the audience involved. Del Wilson has something he's going to share with us. Del, you want to come on up and show them what we mean by a warm-up? So here's the past president of the Fellowship of Christian Magicians. Let's give him a great welcome. Del Wilson.
Past president of the Fellowship of Christian Magicians. He never tells you he's past president also. Oh my goodness, standing up here. You guys could leave now and never know you're here. No, I was actually thinking about doing this on, I'm going to do it as though you're seeing this for the first time at this moment. We're getting ready to start. And before we do that, we need to find out who's going to be our best audience. We're going to divide it up. It's either going to be the boys, the men, or the girls, the ladies. And men, do you think you'll be the best audience?
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you girls?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a competition there. I'll tell you what, make it fair. We'll be gentlemen about it, and we'll let the ladies go first when I get ready to test. I've got a contest for you when I show you. So, this just shows you your competition, guys, okay? Have you ever seen one of these? Probably not like that. This is an HC flower. That stands for hand clapping. Oh, yes, it does. See, it's one of those flowers that thrives on hand clapping. So if I can get the ladies here in a minute to clap real hard, real loud, real long, and even hoop and holler and whistle if you want to, that thing will stand straight up on the end. But be sure you do it loud and hard and long, all right? And we're going to let the ladies go first to see your competition, all right? So when I count to 3, just the ladies. You ready? You ready? Are you asleep? Are you ready, ladies?
Yes!
All right, that's what I want to hear. Here we go. Here we go. I'm going to count to 3 on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Boy, that was so close, so close. Guys, see your competition?
Yeah.
Can you beat that?
Okay.
All right, here we go, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Ready? Okay, count to 3. 1, 2, and you waited. 3. I think it's a little out of balance, all right? So what I'd like to do is when I count to 3, I want the men and the women, everybody here, to clap your hands, yell and holler and applaud really, clap your hands real loud, all right? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Well, you quit. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to have that down there in a sack. And during our program this afternoon, I want you to do a whole, when everybody gives you a suggestion or gives a comment or teaches you a trick or does a trick, give them that kind of applause and yelling and howling and all that real loud. And that flower might stand up just sitting over there in that sack. So thank you for your time, all right? Now I want to make a comment about that. I don't do that necessarily for just adults only. I mean, you know, it's they're the last group I usually will do it for. But I do use it on adults, but I really like it on like a family night when you've got everybody there. Elementary kids love it. I do it for teenagers, but it's a great way to warm up. And then all you have to do, and another thing I say is, now, so that you'll know, because people don't clap hands when they watch television. You're seeing some great stuff on television. Well, they don't even know to clap hands, so you got to teach them. But sometimes I'll go, so that you'll know, when I finish a trick, I may even go, ta-da! Well, that kind of gets you warmed up, and if they're not going to do it, I will. I'll go, ta-da! Or they'll go, yeah, right. And I say, whoa, you got it. So, anyway, thanks.
Already.
The working flower like that is another thing that we used in our theme park. Early in the show to get the kids, we had the boys clap, the girls clap, everyone clap. But in our school programs, I do the same thing. Only I say, well, it's not working because we're not cooperating. And cooperation is a wonderful thing, so let's all work together. And then I use that word cooperate to tie into the school thing. So the idea is, warm-ups and wake-ups are things that you get the audience involved in. Here's another one that I did for years in Magic Beyond Belief, and I'm assuming you'll know it, but pretend like you know. So just put your finger up there like this, everybody, let's go for it, you know, and see how well you follow directions. What kind of an audience we have here today. Start spinning in circles. Makes you feel sophisticated and mature, doesn't it? Okay, keep that thing spinning. Now turn it this way. Aim it like this. Watch it carefully. Are you ready? Keep it spinning. No, it doesn't mean you're crazy. You're just going to do something. Quickly bring it over. Touch it right against your chin. Can you do that? Right against your chin. Yeah, I said chin. This is cheek up here. Chin's down here. A couple of you got it right. That's good. You can feel good. A couple of you went like that at the last minute. A few of you are sitting out there saying, I don't know what's going on. What's he talking about? But whatever the case, you all made an effort. You followed directions, clap and cheer for yourselves. Thank you for putting that. And I'm going to do that same thing tonight, but then I talk about why I did that. And I say it was a challenge to your perceptions. You saw something, you heard something, but what you saw and you heard somehow didn't lead you necessarily in the right direction. But the whole point is everybody in the audience does it. Another thing is like this. Put them up in the air this way. Okay? Like that. Like that, like that, like this. You're doing well. Keep up like that. This, that, this. You know what we're doing. It's called doing something. Doing something. It's a very bad joke, I know. But you might reach over, touch the thumb of the person next to you so you can meet somebody. And there's a long list of those. I have compiled a whole book of warm-ups and wake-ups, but things that get the audience tuned in with you. Dell did his part. We did the touch chin thing. The value of these things, they're group experiences. Everyone participates. There's a sense of common identity. And then the last one under this, how do we do it, is recognize special events and occasions. You will see in a lot of the Branson shows, entertainers do this. And again, it's brilliant. And I don't know if they even realize sometimes how brilliant it is that they do. But they'll say, any birthdays, any anniversaries. And then typically, they say, let's find out who's been married the longest. And they find out, and in Branson, you sometimes have people who've been married 70 years. It's really awesome and inspiring. But by doing that, it gives people a chance to identify themselves, and they feel like that entertainer learned something about them and got to know who they are. And all of a sudden, we've gone from, this is me and that's you, to this is us. And we need whatever tools we can find to try to make that happen. Well, we're going to move along. Remember, the guy said people come to be captivated and engaged. But the second thing, as he said, is they come to experience a moment. I'll let you quickly see some of you get pictures of that. So it gives them a sense of recognition. The performer's paying attention to them. They feel appreciated. They feel a part of what's going on. But that second thing that the guy said, people come to experience a moment. So number one was that, number two is that. At first I didn't understand what he was talking about, and then I realized it is a term that's worked its way into modern culture. Are we having a moment? You'll see a guy look at a girl on a comedy show, and he's hoping she likes him, and he'll go, is this our moment? And what this term moment means is that something is happening that makes folks realize, hey, life isn't just routine, it's not just mundane. All of a sudden, something beautiful is happening. I'll give you an example of a trick that I think could help create a moment. Unfortunately, all too often in life, get this out of my way, all too often in life, hearts get broken. Dreams get shattered. Things don't go right. I hope this is not a story for you, but for many it has been. They had sort of a fairy tale idea about their life. This was going to happen, and this was going to happen, and we were going to live happily ever after. Now life's gone by. And all of a sudden they feel like just that whole fairy tale's been shredded. This isn't the way I thought my life was going to go. Now we have a couple of options when we find ourselves with this recognition, this feeling. One is we can become negative. We can give up on ourselves, give up on life in general, be critical, miserable people. Another thing we can do is say, the Bible teaches there's a God with whom nothing is impossible. Nothing is too hard for him. And that God can bring beauty out of ashes and blessings out of brokenness. And no matter how bad it is, God can turn it into something beautiful. We refuse to give up on ourselves if we never give up on him. Well, I hope we understand that that's the right choice to make. To be a person who says, I believe there is a God who can bring beauty out of the ashes. And he can do some wonderful things with the life that has been terribly broken. There's nothing, that is the situation too difficult. There's no such thing as a person who's too far gone. For God to still bring in victory, still bring in a reason to live, certainly a reason to keep on keeping on. And to somehow, in spite of all the pain and struggle along the way, let us be people who still have a happy ending to our life. However it may go in this world, it can be a happy ever after. That's the promise. Just like at the end of the rainbow, some folks say they're never going to find that pot of gold. But with a Christian, it's not a pot of gold, it's heaven. It's there. No doubt about it. We look forward to it someday. It helps us find beauty and meaning in the here and now. So we're talking about how do you create a moment. So first of all, a moment is that sense, that awareness that the mundane and routine has passed and something special is happening. All of a sudden it's that feeling, you know, my life does matter. My life is worth living. So to me, because you know our emphasis is gospel magic, even though we welcome, if you're not a gospel magician, we still want you here and we try to teach in a way that everyone can learn, but my heart is certainly with the gospel magic. But to me as a gospel magician, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I'm about. So how do I do this? Well, we're going to go through several things, but before I get too far away, what I just did almost isn't a trick. Really isn't a trick. My second mouth coil just disappeared. I had it back there somewhere. But all I did is take an image of a heart from the internet and printed it by way of my, hold it into my Pages file and printed it. So I just made a paper heart and I just hold the mouth coil behind it. Just that simple. Tear up the heart, open up the mouth coil. But it really doesn't matter how the trick is done because that message comes across so beautifully. It's from broken pieces. And again, last night we talked about pack small, play big. The mouth coil really does that. You make a big, long production. And Robert,
yes.
Just remind me, at the 1 o'clock lecture, in case folks haven't seen a mouth coil, remind me to get one out so they know what I'm looking at. Okay, so let's get back to, so how do we do this? Number one, do some things involving children that rather than being wild and crazy, are gentle and tender. I love the wild and crazy, turn it around again, that sort of thing. But one of the ways that we help people feel the beauty of life and these moments in life are with a child and that child having something happen that is affirming. This next routine is one that I think you've seen me do, but I'm going to run through it quickly. Is Ashton still here?
Yeah.
You want to come on up here, buddy? I'm sure glad you're here. And really, because it's something special. Now, I think you might have helped me with this before. I don't know, but we'll find out. Come right on up here. Smile at the audience, folks. You are looking at Ashton. Unbelievable. He's an unbelievable young man. I'd like you to know just how unbelievable he is. So we'll use this. And if you can help me with this before, pretend like you didn't. Okay? Okay. Ashton is unbelievable. And to prove how unbelievable he is, I have 3 ropes. I'm going to make circles out of each rope. And Ashton is going to tell us the color of the circle. It'll be unbelievable. Ashton, look carefully and tell me, what color is this green circle? It's green. He knew it just green. I knew he would. This is Ashton the Unbelievable. Watch carefully now. Here we go. Ashton, what color is this red circle? 2 for 2. Do you think you can get all 3 of them right? Wouldn't that be awesome? We'll find out. Here we go. Ashton, this is a hard one. Concentrate. What color is this yellow circle? It's yellow! Now, he can do something even more unbelievable. Hold him like this. I'm going to go over here. Stay where you are. I'll count to 3. When I get to 3, I'm going to say throw the circles, and you throw the circles, and something will happen that is unbelievable. 1, 2, 3. Throw the circles! Look at that. What did you do? Hold up with both hands after the circle pose. You made one giant circle. Unbelievable! Wow, Ashton. How'd you do it? You threw it up and it just happened. Wow. Now, all these people are going to be asking you, how did you do it? when they ask you, just look them in the eye, say, my name is Ashton, I am unbelievable, and that's all you need to know. Thank you, Ashton. Well, the point is doing something that is affirming, something that just creates that good feeling, that feel-good moment. The trick, I'm assuming most of you know it, so I'll just kind of reset it in front of you so you can figure it out as I go. But I don't think that many magicians really understand just how important it is to do things that involve this warmth, this feeling of, isn't that nice? That really matters. People want that. They want something to happen that makes them say, you know what, life is good. And good things happen in life, and I'm glad I'm part of it. If you're wondering, do you have the skill level to do this? If you can remember to tie red to red, yellow to yellow, green to green, you can do the trick. All that happens is when you bring up an end, for those who are new, the end comes up to the green end of the other rope, so it looks like you're tying 3 circles, but you're just tying one big circle. So very, very simple in presentation. And something I love doing with the children, and actually even little tiny kids can do this, because they can hold the 3 circles, throw them, and they turn into one. But the point is, we're doing something nice. I do the floating table, and I really like the trick. I do it with a child from the audience. And in the background, we play the music Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's very soft, it's very beautiful. I'm not picking on the kid, I'm not getting laughs with the child, but rather I'm watching the child's eyes get wide with wonder as the table goes up. And I think the best thing about my floating table routine always is the child. What happens with the child is even better than the trick, because the kids are just so amazed. These are kind of the things that we want to go after. Let's keep moving on this. When children come on stage, take time to get to know them. I was, when I started in magic, mainly exposed to the borderline abusive behavior for volunteers. You get somebody up, that hand, no, the clean hand. And all these jokes that kind of based at the child's expense. You grab their arm and make it shake and so on. And there are guys who can still do that and make it work. But I think you're missing something. When you're just trying to be funny and trying to show that you're smart and you can take advantage of people, there are folks who'd be entertained by that. But if you instead took the other approach, you get a child up there, what's your name? Oh, where are you from? You never know what they're going to say. Those of you who were at our last conference, you got the little girl up there, where are you from? She said, Disney. And I said, really? What do you do at Disney? I sleep. And it was just sweet as could be, and I don't know why she said it, but it was hysterical too. The audience just roared with laughter. It was cute as all get out, and it was truly a moment. It was one of those things that the only people who got to see that happen and know what it felt like were those who were there. And the audience realized they're seeing something. So consider taking a different sort of approach, just kind of being a real friend to the child and watch what the child does, and it may make you the star and make the show better than it ever was before. Here's another thing. When I was a young man, I didn't get it all about magic. To me, magic was, I'm going to blow you away. You're never going to figure this one out. I thought that's what magic was about. It took me a long time to realize that I think the best thing we can do with our magic is create something beautiful. And so I know you can't have the whole show that way, because people want laughter and they want to clap and cheer and they want crazy moments. And basically those crazy moments set the crowd up to really appreciate the beautiful moment. And I was looking for a variety of things to show you, so here's just a simple example of what I'm talking about, something beautiful, very similar to the other message, because we're emphasizing the same concept. But it would be for a ministry situation. All these different things that come into our lives. And sometimes we say to ourselves, is there any way I can make sense of what's happening in my life? Okay, moving right along. Now and then things happen that make us feel blue. You've heard of having the blues, being depressed, being discouraged. I'm going to give you the quick version of this. Then we, of course, have those things happen that make us angry. So the blues can represent feeling sad. Red's the color for anger. Make us think of times when we get mad. We're sad, we're mad. Hopefully now and then things happen to make us glad. A lot of things happen in life that make us glad, but we all know that in life there's a mixture of these things that we have to deal with. Mad, sad, glad, and then now and then I feel like I've been had. You know what I'm talking about? Life isn't fair, I'm trying hard, nothing works, other people don't try hard at all, everything seems to work for them. Doesn't seem to be any real justice as far as how life turns out. All these different things going on in life. Hard to make sense of. You know, can I make sense of all this? There's a wonderful verse in the Bible, Romans chapter 8, verse 28, that says, we know all things work together for good for those who love God, for those who are called according to His purpose. And what it means is that even if we can't make sense out of life, we know that God has a plan, a divine design, and so to God it does make sense. And someday we're going to see how it all came together. There's a story in the Bible of the flood and the experience of Noah. At the end of that experience, what did God give Noah as a promise? A rainbow. A rainbow that somehow, some way, out of all this that happened, there's going to be something wonderful coming down the pipe. Something wonderful in the future. I'll put it this way, folks. No matter what's going on in life, we know God really does have a wonderful plan. And we know so, very simple, and once I started, I realized it wasn't the right music. A different song would have done a better job of creating a sense of beauty. But the point is, a blendo, just before the four silks go into the switch can, the rainbow comes out. It's a simple message, but it's a message that involves that concept that we're talking about, and it makes things go, I think, very well. I hope it's okay with you all that I'm moving fast at this point because there's so much we want to accomplish the rest of the day. So I'm not pausing for questions and for discussion, but hopefully over the lunch hour we can discuss these things. Several came up to me at the last break and said, "Would you talk about this? Would you talk about that?" So when we get to the lunch break, give me feedback, and we will do our best when we start at 1 o'clock to cover any territory we've missed. But I think we've made the point so far, and I'm going to keep going. Add a personal story to your show. Add a personal story to your show. Remember what we're talking about, how to create a moment. Now, I want to be real careful with this. Please, don't try to make your entire show be moments. And I've known people who do this too much. They go for the heart too many times. And the audience begins to resent it. They feel like the person is being manipulative. The person is playing with their emotions. So we have to entertain, we have to do all these other things, and just judiciously realize there has to be a couple spots where we go for the heart. And when I really go for the heart, I want to do that in a very powerful way to create those moments. So I thought about this, and I came up with something brand new for you relating to this. Adding a personal story. So we want to create a moment. And I call this He Knows My Name. I had a bad experience at Christmas when I was a kid. My dad worked for a lumber mill. He was going to college and working his way through college, helping make plywood. We lived out in Oregon at the time. They had a company Christmas party. I still remember that party. All of the employees came in with their kids. Santa Claus was there. And as they read the kids' names, the kids would go up and get prizes, gifts. And they were open, so you could see what the gifts were. All of the boys were getting Bat Masterson playsets. And I loved Bat Masterson in those days. The guy who had a cane and a derby hat. He was just gambling. Oh, I wanted that Bat Masterson playset so badly. They kept calling names, and I kept waiting for him to call my name. And they finally got to the end of the list, and they hadn't said my name. My dad went up and checked, and they said, well, no, we read all the names, but nobody came up for this. And Dad looked, and it was Diane Laughlin. My name's Dwayne. They had it down as Diane. And they said, here's the only present left. It was a set of green plastic dishes. True story. So I took the dishes home and gave them to my sister, and I never did get a Bat Masterson. That was not a good Christmas experience. I've got a bag with all kinds of words in it here. Dog, pig, house, all kinds of words. I'm just going to have two people help me. Ed, would you mind? You're going to reach in and you're going to pick a word. Go ahead. Take one word out of there. We're all going to pretend like we've not seen this before. You got just one there? Don't let me see it, please. Just take it out of there. Then we'll go on down here. We'll let Lynn take a word. And don't let me see this, please. Just reach in there. Well, I have to tell you, joking aside, I was really disturbed by being Diane Laughlin. And really disturbed to get those green plastic dishes. Give them to my sister. It really, maybe you can tell, I'm 64 years old and I'm still bothered by that story. But I did learn something though. Whoops. I did learn something that certainly not only perked me up, but made it a lot easier to deal with this kind of thing. And then I learned that there's one who's never going to get my name wrong. In the book of Matthew, the Bible, speaking of God, says that when a sparrow falls, he knows. If you're out taking a walk and you see a bird laying on the roadside, got hit by a car, God knows about that. He knows about every detail of life. God knows my name. He knows who I am. He knows what I need. He knows what I want. He's never going to forget it. He's never going to miss it. He's never going to get it wrong. Knowing that enabled me to survive the dishes episode. We're going to try an experiment here. Now, you had a bag of words there. You could pick out a variety of words. And Ed, we had you pick out one first. Don't say it yet. I'm just going to try to write something down here. Really, the bag, all the different words there, all the choices that Ed could have made. I'm going to write down a word here that is my idea of what I think Ed did. Now, if you were watching, you would know that there was no way I could know what Ed did. He reached, he grabbed it out, kept the word inside of his hand. But he chose a word. Ed, what was the word you chose?
Car.
Car, as in C-A-R. Car. That's what I just wrote down. Now, so many different words in the bag. Lynn selected a word. I'm going to write something down here. And let's see how I've done with this. All right, Lynn, what word did you pick? Lake? L-A-K-E?
Yes.
That's exactly what I wrote down. You might be wondering, how in the world could I know that? Could I do that? Well, it's a trick. I'm an illusionist. But I will tell you that it's a wonderful truth, that God knows every single detail of life. If you're hurting, He knows it. If you have a need, He knows it. If there's something you're praying about, even if it hasn't been answered the way you hope it would be answered, He knows it. He knows our name, He knows every need and every detail of life. And that is something for which I'm eternally grateful. And I hope you know that God in the way I know Him. If you don't, you sure can. Okay, so that's the point. I used that Clearview force bag again. I forced the two letters. But the whole idea was, we're talking about making it personal. And so I thought, well, okay, what can I do that is my story? And that is, Diane Laughlin, Bat Masterson, it scarred me for life, but that really did happen. But I take the story, and all of a sudden, this simple little trick with the force bag combined with the story, I think becomes quite powerful. And I think it's something that people can relate to and connect with, and that's the thing we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to figure out how to create a moment. Mary's in here with the pizza, so I've got to speed up again.
Take your time. We're kind of
Okay, I'm getting organized. Employ the power of beautiful music. And I almost should have Alan be the one talking about this, but music, I don't have the adjectives to use to state how critical music is for touching hearts and creating moments. Music really matters. It is crucial if you want to be an effective communicator and an effective entertainer that you learn to use music and you make good music choices. And I've never done this, but I put it together as an example because I'm completely confident that this will work, even though I've never done it. And that is, I'm going to do the cut and restored rope. I'm going to tell another personal story, but I'm going to put music behind it. And, you know, again, we're in this kind of, I kind of like to rock and roll. Right now we're not rocking and rolling, but we're talking about moments. But I think it'll be a final example to make the point of we do have tools to make moments occur. We want some routines like this in our show. Oh, I'm going to show you that quickly before I do the routine. There's that old quote, music has charms to soothe the savage beast, an exquisite song with classic beauty in contrast to harder hitting songs like used in other parts of the show can lead people to thinking and feeling in a different way. And maybe more than anything else, great songs have the ability to create great moments. And frankly, that last statement, I put the maybe in front of it, trying to be respectful of people, different opinions, but I don't believe there's anything more powerful in this world than creating moments than great songs. I was a boy in college. Knew nothing about magic tricks. It never crossed my mind that I would do a magic trick. The church I was attending, it was the middle of the summer, decided to have a special Sunday in which they would celebrate children. And I was a college kid going to the church, and so he said, well, since it's about young people, why don't you as a young person do a children's sermon for the littler kids? I said, sure. Then I realized I'd never done a children's sermon. I didn't know what to do. So I started digging around and I found a book. The book was called Junior Magic Trick Talks. And the idea of it was that these were little magic tricks you could use to illustrate Bible lessons for kids. So I read through it and I found a chapter where you would take a piece of string and you would cut it in half and it would come back together again, and you would use that lesson to talk about how we make mistakes and we feel separated from God, that He loves us, and there's a way He can restore our brokenness and restore us unto Himself. So that Sunday, so long ago as a kid in college, I got in front of the crowd with a little piece of string, not a rope, just a little piece of string. I did the little cut the way the book showed me to, and I told the story, and somehow the trick worked. The hokey trick the way I did it, but it worked. And the kids got the point. Not only did the kids get the point, but the grown-ups got the point. And it went over so well that someone said, would you do another one of those kind of sermon things for the kids next week? And I said, sure. And when I did that, then they said, how about every week you do something for the kids? So I started working through the magic book, trying to learn every trick that I could. As I worked on the tricks and things in the magic book, I discovered what I call my art. It all began with just that piece of string, but I realized I could do these tricks, and I could tell Bible stories with them, and when I did it, it seemed to be something people understood, they could relate to. And to make a long story short, it turned into a career. It became something I ended up doing the rest of my life. I never thought I'd be a magician when I was a child, but it turned out that was God's plan for me. And of course, as time went by, I learned to do the trick in ways far beyond what I knew when I first started. I learned how to take a trick, cut it such as a rope instead of a string, and cut it not just once, but twice. Even cut it again and again. Somehow, after it was cut so many times, I saw something amazing to see And I discovered I could use it to talk to people about how it's not magic, but a spiritual reality that can be restored to God. This is a trick. To make it look like a rope that was cut, either ruins and come back together. But I've learned I can use it to illustrate the truth that God changing lives. Got me all started with that so long ago. And now I guess I'll be doing it till the day I die. Letting people know there's a God in heaven who can make everything new. Yes, we can imagine So, never done that before and didn't even rehearse it. I just said there's a concept, but I wanted to do it unrehearsed for you to show you that when you get the right song and you get the right feel, it's almost hard not to be able to create a moment. And these are things that we want in our show. How are we doing, Robert?
We're ready.
You're ready. Okay, then let me jump to...
Mary has a few announcements, though.
Mary has some announcements. So let me jump to the final things on the screen here. So it's wise to analyze show structure with these questions in mind. Where are the places in my performance where people gain a special insight about living the value of life? Where does it happen in your show? And where in my show does something happen that might especially touch a person's heart? And as we look at those questions, we say to ourselves, there needs to be such a place. And I need to figure out how to make that place. And folks, I make my living as a secular entertainer. I mean, this is my profession as well as ministry. So even though today's gospel emphasis, I do lots and lots of shows where I don't preach at all. I just entertain. But always, in every show, I have moments that go for the heart. And I think it's something, what did the man say? Audiences want it. Remember, they go to be captivated, engaged. They want to experience a moment. So I always have some place in my show that reminds people there's still reasons to smile. Life really can be beautiful. And it's good business, but for me it's not just business. I really do care about that. I want that to happen. Now the final thing is people attend shows to have their lives changed. And here's what the guy who was teaching country artists was saying. People are hoping to see the repetitious nature of normal life interrupted. They don't want to feel like they're hamsters on an exercise wheel. They want to feel like they're really living. And so they go to a concert or they go to a show because it's not the norm, it's exciting, and it's something to say, hey, you know, I'm living. I'm not just going through the motions. You know, I'm doing cool things in life. And so your magic show can give them that sense of, yep, I am not just a robot. I'm not just a hamster in the exercise wheel. I'm having a great life. So the social interaction as part of the show reminds them. I'm a person with feelings, goals, and dreams. I'm somebody who can laugh and cry and love. And so we want to try to communicate through that through our show. How do we accomplish it? Number one, we view our work as being for the benefit of those who come to experience it. Please have it in your heads. The show is not about you. It's about the audience. We don't do magic to show off. The stage is not a place to show everybody how cool I am. The stage is a place for me to create an experience that blesses folks who come to be a part of it. You know, if you get that straight, you'll never be a good entertainer. You'll never be a good magician. Make sure we enjoy our own work. Don't get so caught up in it we forget to have fun because you are the leader. And if you're not enjoying yourself, they're not going to enjoy themselves. And a quick aside, I know Mary wants me to hurry up so we can serve pizza, but I will tell you, it took me a long time to learn this. I used to think that the first thing I had to do as a performer in a show was get the attention of the audience. As years went by, I learned that's not true. The first thing I have to do is get my attention. I cannot perform on autopilot. I cannot just be churning out another show. I have to be in the moment to really care about this particular audience this time around, even if I've done the same show hundreds of times. Make sure you enjoy your audience. Take care of your body. Take care of yourself physically. I really think that a key to this whole idea of, you know, we want lives to change is to be a positive example, and taking care of ourselves physically gives us the energy and the sharpness to be able to do the job we need to do. And then directly give the message about how life can be changed. And I had a routine I was going to share, but maybe I'll do it later. But it's especially the gospel magician. There are so many tricks we do that just right out of the Bible, say to people, God is a life-changing God. You can have a changed life. You come to the show looking for a changed life, we can tell you how to have a changed life. Okay, we rushed through a lot of material. If you need reviewing it, any of it during the lunch hour, we'll have it up so you can do that. But Mary, you want to come on up and tell us where we go from here?